Hello. In this video, we're going to start talking about the basics of variables in Java. So first, we want to answer, what is a variable? Basically, variables are a place you can store information that you're going to use later. You can make an analogy to a bucket of paint. You have this paint that you want to use, and you need a way of bringing it with you. You can put the paint into a bucket, bring it with you, and use it later. And you can also make modifications to the paint that is in your bucket, whether it's mixing it with other paints or adding more paint or even just shaking it with a paint stick. You are now updating your variable that you're going to use later. And that would be something more like if you put a number into a variable and then you somehow manipulate that number. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Variables are required to have two things. They need a name and a type. Generally, a name should be descriptive of what you're going to use that variable for. Say, for example, if you have a number that's keeping track of the number of gallons of paint that you use, you shouldn't just name it X or number. It should be called gallons of paint. And then they also need to have a type, and I actually have a full slide for that. This is not a comprehensive list of types, and you're actually even able to create new types. But these are 5 of the very basic types you'll see in basically any programming language you work with, or at the very least something reminiscent of these will be there. And these types also have similar behavior to types that are not mentioned, such as doubles or longs, that may be covered in a future video. You have ints, which is just short for integer. Those are just whole number values. They are allowed to be negative. They can be 0. Floats, which are basically values, they're decimal values. A boolean is true or false. It is a thing that it either is or it is not. Characters are just single length characters. You could have that could be the number 4, and in single quotes that could be a character. Note that I have used single quotes for the characters, and then on the line below it, I have double quotes for string, which is really just a sequence of characters. I think that's enough of the slides. Let's actually take a look at what this looks like in the code. So let's go ahead and come back to this problem from last time, just our very basic Hello World program. Again, this right here for now, this system.out.println, I'm going to treat as a black box. I just want you to understand that you can type that and it prints to this terminal. One thing I did not mention last time is everything in Java, every line needs to end in this semicolon. It's how the program knows that that line is done. There's some language where that is not required. But to get back to variables, let's look at this piece of it. This hello world in quotation marks. So pause the video if you want. Try to remember what type of variable this is, and I'll give you 3, 2, 1. This is a string. And you can see that we put that string in quotes, we put it in the print line, and it prints hello world down here to the console. I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to say string s equals, and I'm going to paste it in. And notice we get this error, syntax error, insert semicolon to complete. I think I will make a video later about just the different types of errors, but for now we just see that. So and I'll make it string str. Again, remember, try to make your variable names descriptive. This just doesn't have much of a meaning, so this is fine for now. We can now put str into this statement. So we've saved hello world into the variable, and then on the next line, we can go ahead and print it. And I will actually go ahead and change this to goodbye. And just so we can actually see the difference down in the console. And now notice that we've printed goodbye world. So that is just the very basics of saving a variable and reusing it later. You just use it by using its name. Now, we've also mentioned that you can do stuff like change variables. So I'm going to do a basic operation with a string of plus equals, and I'm just going to say, I'm going to give it another string and I will say goodbye world, and I will say hello new world. There's no real meaning to that, and it really could be any string here. This plus equals is an operation that allows you to do something called string concatenation. Now, I will make a video specifically about handling strings, but this is just to show that I've done some operation to this variable, and now it prints both of those as one string in str. And I'll make a bigger video. What string concatenation does is it, and you've probably been able to guess just by looking at the output, is it adds goodbye world and hello new world together, and then it gets assigned to string. So saying this ends up with this result. I can actually even rewrite it as string equals, and I can say string plus. The plus equals just saves a little bit of writing. So I will use it almost every time because writing lots of stuff takes forever. One other thing to note is this equal sign. I want you to be careful. There are different types of equal signs in programming. This is called the assignment operator. One singular equal sign takes a value on the right and assigns it to your variable on the left. I will later get into something called the equality operator, which is two equal signs. They are different things, even though they look very similar. And even this, if you've just been used to algebra, looks a little unusual. We are not stating that those two things are equivalent. I am assigning the value of the thing on the right to the thing on the left. Now, to get back into types a little bit more, notice how if I change this to 7, I still get this little red squiggly. It's a type mismatch, cannot convert from int to string. 7, just by itself, is an int. It's a whole number. That's what we've said ints are. So I cannot just assign it to this string variable. If I wanted to use 7, I would have to do something like this. I can say int str equals 7, and we can go ahead and run that. And you can see it does print 7. Now, granted, this is a really bad name, even for something that doesn't matter. So let's at least change it to x, because that a little bit signifies that it is a variable. And just to show again that we can do some sort of manipulation, if I say plus equals 3, I'll give you guys 3, 2, 1 to guess what it is, and very predictably, this value is going to be 10. I'm going to do the countdowns very quickly. You can pause the video if you like, but I don't want to slow the video down. So I wanted this video to just cover the basics of storing variables. I think, at the very least, all the basic types should have a more fleshed out video in and of themselves. So yeah, this video just covered storing variables. The next video in the series will go through each type of variable, cover some operations that they do, and some specifics of each of them. All right, see you in the next one.